Rome will call you a savage. Britain will call you a hero. But before anyone turns you into a symbol, you are a woman watching an empire take everything from you. You are Boudica, queen of the Iceni. And today, Rome will learn that a conquered people can still burn. You are not born to fight Rome. At first, you live beside it. That is the part people forget. Your people, the Iceni, are not simply crushed on day one. Your kingdom survives by making a dangerous bargain. Rome is already in Britain, building roads, collecting taxes, raising forts, and teaching every tribe a lesson. Resistance is expensive, but cooperation is never free. Your husband, King Prasutagus, understands this. He rules as an ally of Rome, or at least as something close enough to an ally for Rome to tolerate him. He knows your kingdom is surrounded by a machine larger than any single tribe. He knows the empire does not need to hate you to destroy you. It only needs to want what you have. So he tries to protect the future. When he dies, he leaves his kingdom jointly to his daughters and to the Roman emperor. It is a desperate compromise, a final attempt to keep your family alive and your people intact. But Rome does not see a compromise. Rome sees an opening. The soldiers arrive not as guests, but as owners. Roman officials ignore the will. They seize land, wealth, homes, and dignity. Debts are called in. Chiefs are humiliated. Families are stripped of what they thought was theirs. And then they come for you. You are not treated as a queen. You are treated as a warning. Rome wants everyone watching to understand the new order. Your title means nothing. Your blood means nothing. Your daughters mean nothing. The old agreements mean nothing. The empire can rewrite your life with a document, a whip, and a soldier's hand. In that moment, something inside you changes. Not because you suddenly become fearless, but because fear has nowhere left to go. There are moments in history when a person does not choose rebellion because victory is likely. They choose rebellion because obedience has become more unbearable than death. This is one of those moments. You stand before your people not as a distant queen wrapped in ceremony, but as proof of what Rome intends to do to all of them. Your body carries the insult. Your family carries the wound. Your kingdom carries the warning. And now the warning turns back toward Rome. You call the tribes together. The Iceni are not alone. The Trinovantes and others have their own anger, their own dead, their own stolen land, their own temples replaced by Roman pride. They have watched veterans take homes, officials demand tribute, and foreign power dress itself as civilization. Rome thinks it has conquered Britain by dividing it. You begin to unite what Rome has insulted. This is the first danger Rome fails to understand. A tax can be paid. A fort can be avoided. A road can be walked. But humiliation remembers. And when enough people remember the same humiliation, it becomes an army. You do not have Rome's discipline. You do not have its armor, training, roads, supply systems, or generals shaped by centuries of war. You have rage. You have numbers. You have a story every person around you understands without translation. Rome took what was ours. Rome dishonored what was sacred. Rome thinks we will kneel, so you move. The first great target is Camulodunum, the Roman colony built on British resentment. To Rome, it is a symbol of order. To the people around it, it is a symbol of theft. A place where Roman veterans live on land taken from others. A place where a temple to the emperor rises like a monument to submission. You attack. The city is not ready for the fury coming toward it. The rebellion crashes through the streets. Roman confidence breaks. The symbols of occupation are torn down. The temple becomes a trap. Those who once believed Britain had been pacified now discover that fear can change sides. Camulodunum burns. And with the smoke, your name begins to travel. Boudica, not a queen in mourning, not a widow to be ignored. A storm, but victory is dangerous. It feeds the belief that rage itself is strategy. More people join. More voices shout for vengeance. Every burned building seems to prove Rome is weaker than it looked. Every dead enemy seems to make the impossible more possible. But Rome is not weak. Rome is absent. That is different. The Roman governor, Suetonius Paulinus, is away in the west, campaigning on Mona, crushing resistance and sacred places there. When word reaches him, he faces a nightmare. Britain is on fire behind him. A rebellion led by a woman, Rome thought it had broken, is tearing through the province. He cannot save everything. That becomes your advantage. You move toward Londinium. Today people will imagine London as eternal, but in your time, it is young, wealthy, growing, and vulnerable. Merchants, officials, settlers, and families have built their lives there, believing Rome can protect what Rome creates. Suetonius reaches the city, studies the situation, and makes a cold decision. He leaves. He decides Londinium cannot be defended. Imagine what that means to the people inside. Rome, the empire that promised order, looks at them and imagine what that means to the people inside. Chooses survival elsewhere. Then you arrive. Londinium burns. The city that will one day become one of the most powerful capitals on earth is reduced to smoke, screams, and ash. This is the part of your story that refuses to stay clean, because revenge does not only strike soldiers. Cities contain civilians, families, traders, children, people who may have benefited from Rome, but did not all command its cruelty. The rebellion that begins as justice becomes something harder to name when fire spreads through streets. This is why your story still argues with itself. Are you liberating Britain, or are you becoming the thing Rome said you were? A monster at the edge of empire. But perhaps that question is too easy when asked from a safe distance. Because you are not living in a calm world of moral categories. You are living in a world where Rome has already decided some people are tools, some people are property, and some lives can be stepped over for roads, taxes, and glory. You do not invent brutality. You answer it, and answers made in fire rarely stay pure. After Londinium comes Verulamium. Another Roman town, another target, another message. The rebellion grows into something Rome can no longer dismiss as disorder. This is not a small tribal disturbance. This is the province cracking open. Rome's own historians will later write of destruction on a scale that shocks them. But while your army grows larger, Suetonius is doing what Rome does best. He is choosing ground. He knows he cannot match your numbers. He knows your force is huge, emotional, and hungry for the final blow. But he also knows Rome does not always need more men. Rome needs discipline, position, and patience. He selects a narrow battlefield, with woodland protecting his rear and limited space in front. Your numbers cannot surround him there. Your fury cannot fully expand there. The battlefield itself becomes a Roman weapon. And you arrive with the weight of rebellion behind you. Your people are not only warriors. Families follow. Wagons gather. Some come to watch Rome fall. Some believe this will be the day Britain becomes free. They bring hope too close to the battlefield. You stand before them. Different sources later put speeches in your mouth, and maybe the exact words are gone forever. But the meaning survives. You are not fighting for wealth. You are not fighting for a throne alone. You are fighting because Rome crossed a line so deep that life without resistance became a slower death. You are a woman, a mother, a queen, and a wound made visible. Across from you stands Rome, smaller in number, tighter in formation, silent behind shields. Then the battle begins. At first, the size of your army feels like destiny. The noise alone seems powerful enough to break the world. Warriors rush forward. The ground shakes. The air fills with cries, dust, and the belief that Rome has finally reached the edge of what it can survive. But Roman lines do not dissolve. The soldiers hold. Javelins fly. Shields lock. The narrow ground begins to betray you. Your numbers press from behind. The front cannot move freely. The fury that carried your army across cities now crushes itself into a space chosen by your enemy. Rome advances, not wildly, methodically, step by step, shield by shield, blade by blade. This is the horror of Roman war. It does not need to be larger than you. It only needs to remain organized when you are not. The rebellion begins to collapse. Panic spreads backward. The wagons block escape. The families who came to witness victory now stand in the path of disaster. The battlefield turns from hope to slaughter. And somewhere in that chaos, the dream breaks. No one knows exactly how your final moments unfold. Some say you take poison. Some say illness claims you. Some say history, written by Roman hands, simply loses sight of you once you can no longer threaten Rome. But the result is clear. You lose. The rebellion is crushed. Rome survives. The empire does not leave Britain because of you. And yet, Rome never fully wins the story. That is the strange power of your life. By the measurements of empire, you fail. You do not drive Rome out. You do not free all Britain. You do not build a lasting kingdom from the ashes. Your uprising brings terrible destruction, and your defeat brings terrible punishment. But centuries later, your name still rises. Not because you were gentle. You were not. Not because your rebellion was clean. It was not. Not because every act done in your name was just. History is rarely that simple. You survive because you became the question Rome never wanted conquered people to ask. What if we say no? What if fear can face both directions? What if the empire is not destiny, but a choice people are forced to obey until someone refuses? That is why Britain remembers you, sometimes as a freedom fighter, sometimes as a warrior queen, sometimes as a nationalist symbol, sometimes as a warning about revenge. Every age remakes you in its own image. Rome called you savage because empire always calls resistance savage when it becomes inconvenient. Later generations call you hero because nations love rebels more after the danger is gone. But you were more than either word. You were grief turned into fire. You were humiliation turned into revolt. You were a queen who lost everything Rome thought mattered, and then made Rome pay attention. So now the question belongs to you. Was Boudica a hero who stood against imperial cruelty, or a vengeful queen whose rage consumed innocent lives along with Roman power? Was she Britain's freedom fighter, or proof that revenge can become its own empire? And if Rome had taken your kingdom, your family, and your dignity, would you have chosen peace? Or would you have burned the road behind you too? Comment below. Because this story is not only about ancient Britain, it is about what happens when the people, an empire, tries to decide. They would rather be feared than owned. And remember, you do not watch history, you become it. Today you were Boudica.